Hello, everybody. Loremaster Sotek here, and I hope you're all having a wonderful start to the week. As I'm sure you may have noticed, there is more news for Warhammer Lords of the End Times, as we are now officially in the marketing cycle, essentially, for this DLC, which means over the coming weeks, we are going to be having just so many updates, so many things to look at, so many things to read, so many things to showcase. Obviously, I am actually in the midst of chopping up the big stream I did the other day, where we looked at some of the Boris Todbringer campaign and the reaction to the trailer and all that other nonsense. But today, we are going to be looking at the free LC that is going to be coming alongside the Lords of the End Times. So without further ado, let's delve into it. So, we have, alongside Lord of the End Times, Total War Warhammer 3 is getting one of its biggest ever game updates. We're introducing a host of overhauls, feature improvements, reworks, and some awesome new campaign and battle content in the shape of our latest free legendary lord, Neferata. Here's what the update contains. You can scroll on down for full details on each. So, we have the Vampire Counts rework. Their time has come! The Vampire Counts are getting a significant rework, which we feel better captures the essence of the Midnight Aristocracy and the fantasy of raising hordes of undead to conquer the world. The first change to mention is the Vampire Counts core gameplay loop. Recruitment previously revolved around local region actions, utilizing building recruitment changes to improve your forces and being supplemented by the Raise Dead feature, but the system lacked any real investment in provincial military infrastructure. We felt we could deepen the core loop here, so we've redesigned elements of the building and recruitment systems to achieve this. The new system tackles long-standing issues we felt existed in the previous Raise Dead mechanic, as it invalidated a lot of campaign progression, such as giving you tier 5 units after fighting tier 1 units via battle markers. Raise Dead is now officially the default recruitment mechanic for your undead hordes. All units, other than the very lowest tier ones, now have unit capacity and require military buildings to increase that cap. Any unit can be recruited anywhere in the world, provided you have the unit capacity for them and the relevant resources to recruit them. There is no longer a chance-based element to recruitment. That's really nice. That makes sense for Vampire Counts, I think. Low-tier units, mostly 1 through 3, require corpses, a new resource to recruit. Corpses are a provincial resource and generated as units are killed in the province. Similar to the old system, the more and the bigger battles there are in the province, the more corpses you'll have to raise your legions. Recruiting higher tier units, which are tier 4 to 5, also requires a new resource called Blood. This is primarily gained through certain buildings, which converts corpses in the province into blood. You gotta exsanguinate all those juicy corpses. You gotta get all those good juices out. Blood has many uses, and choosing how to spend it will be a critical decision. As well as recruiting high-tier units, it's also spent on confederation mechanics, certain critical buildings, blood decrees, vampire layers, bloodlines, and technologies, which are being reworked as well. Oh, that's a really cool menu. Oh, look at all the bloodlines. What? So you've got Von Karstein, Necrarch. No, this is Necrarch. So, okay. So Von Karstein, Strigoi, Necrarch, Lamian, Blood Dragon. That looks slick. That's cool. I wonder if they'll have the option to still make generic vampires. Because, like, although I don't think they should be nearly as powerful, like they should be like a garbage tier, I would still like to have access to like the generic ones, especially if these are going to cost a resource. It'd be nice if there was like the mutt vampires that were like a lot cheaper, but we'll have to see. What do we have here? The Fallen Set Aside. One who has prowled these lands for centuries knows precisely where the locals dig their graves. Okay, that's cool. Okay. Oh, so this is a Neferata campaign. Okay. All right. Neat. Oh, okay. So you get empowerments. Okay, so you can choose which bloodline. Okay, so it looks like the generic vampire lord might be gone. Which I do think is a shame, because I do think they represented well, like, a vampire that's so diluted in the bloodline that they basically don't have any of the notable traits, um, or, you know, representing one of the two other bloodlines, the bloodline of Matmeses or Herakte. Obviously, Herakte will end up becoming the Jade-blooded vampires, but they're not in game yet, and we don't even know what Matmeses' bloodline is or what it's called or any of that stuff. Like, there's fan theories and fan names for it, but there's nothing official. So I think the only thing I see here that I'm not a fan of is I'm not a fan of the fact that it looks like we're being forced to run a specific one of the 5 bloodlines, instead of being able to have like a basic bitch generic vampire. But that's just because like I like having all the kind of little loreful elements, which means having the 6th mystery line, so to speak. And I also don't like the idea of removing content from the game, or at least disabling it. And it's like, if you already have the generic vampires, you know. Anyway, but it looks like you get 6 empowerments. So I'm guessing what we're seeing here is an empowerment. We're adding a brand new feature in the shape of vampire layers. Our goal here is to emphasize the preeminence of vampires and celebrate the unique traits of the different bloodlines. Gaining new vampire lords now requires you to find a vampire lair and spend time developing it before awakening the vampire within. Developing a lair involves making choices, which essentially customize the sleeping vampire lord with special traits, bonuses, and more. You can also choose how much time you want to invest in each vampire lord before awakening them for your faction. So, for example, you can swiftly awaken a vampire for quick access to a lord of a specific bloodline, or you can take your time to invest heavily in their development, resulting in a considerably more powerful vampire lord. Vampire lairs are scattered around the world in random settlements at the start of each campaign, and revealing them requires the player to fully discover the settlement by occupation or via certain agent actions. Once access to the newly revealed lair is granted, the rituals of awakening may begin. As vampire lords are now recruited through lairs, the Bloodlines feature has been upgraded to support this new gameplay flow. Previously, a bloodline would provide access to a key character type and could only be upgraded 3 times. Now, a bloodline can be infinitely empowered, but each subsequent empowerment requires an ever-increasing volume of blood. Okay, so you have infinite buffs available through the bloodline system. Oh, I wonder if we're also losing the Gould Kings as well. Yeah, man. Okay, I'm really curious to see more of this. I still think it'd be nice if the generic vampire and the regular Strigoi Ghoul King were findable. Like, maybe they could be achieved as, like, through certain conditions, or, like, maybe somewhere in the tech tree, or... Because I just like being able to find, like, the baby ones that are not as powerful, but they allow you to get access to these kinds of characters faster. Because it seems like getting a significant amount of vampire lords is going to be rather time consuming as well as resource consuming, which is good. I like this. I like that we're going to be able to make really, really powerful vampires. I would just also like the option to be able to make really baby vampires. That's just me though. Vampire. Ooh, new art. Oh, that is really, really nice art. Heinrich Kimmler and Vlad and Isabella. Oh, they look fun. Okay, Vampire Count Confederation. So we have a bespoke Confederation mechanic, which is very exciting. So what do we have here? Heinrich Kimmler, the Dread Lichmaster, sought to transcend mortality through necromancy, commanding vast armies of the dead. Broken by rival sorcerers, he wandered in ruin until a dark pact restored his power. Now renewed, Kimmler spreads terror and destruction in exchange for more forbidden might. A vocation clearly best served in your ranks once his fealty is gained. Upon confederating this faction, all legendary lords and legendary heroes will join your faction. So we can't see all the requirements, but it looks like he requires... Okay, so he must have 5 or fewer regions. So if he's too powerful, you're gonna have to go kick the crap out of him, which is kind of fun. You also need to have at least 10 units that he sympathizes with. So in his case, they went with spirit units. So he's got Spirit Host, Karen Race, Hex Race, and Morngul's. And we see you confederate his faction. You gain all of his legendary lords and heroes but all of his armies will be immediately destroyed and all of his regions will be abandoned. Ooh, that's super interesting. Okay, so if you confederate somebody, you literally just get the character, but otherwise their empire like collapses. And then here we see Glenn and Isabel, you've already gotten them. We've also introduced a new mechanism for allowing confederation with their vampire legendary lords. Confederating with the legendary lord requires a series of unique tasks to be completed first and incur a hefty cost. But ultimately, you're able to bring all vampire count legendary lords under your control. That is very exciting. I'm a little sad not to see like the Red Duke on this list, but to be fair, he's not a full playable character, at least not yet. Free legendary lord Neferata. Neferata was the first of all vampires. Using Nagash's dark research to learn the secrets of necromancy, she crafted her own elixir of immortality. However, this tincture was tainted with the curse of vampirism, an unquenchable thirst for mortal blood. Hounded from her kingdom of Lamia by the Tomb Kings, who were not technically yet Tomb Kings, who reviled her and all her vampire thralls, she settled in the Silver Pinnacle, where to this day she exerts her will as the Queen of Mysteries through her web of thralls, and spies upon the events of the wider world. Neferata would see Lamia restored to its former glory. She aims to reclaim her ancient seat of power and bend all vampire kind to her will. Campaign experience. Build your court. Recruit heroes to create secret vampire covens and build a powerful network of agents and spies. These include Neferata's Lamian vampire heroes and their campaign-only counterparts, the Handmaidens, to create secretive covens and generate Neferata's manipulation resource, among other benefits. Project your power. Strike from the shadows to assassinate, manipulate, and steal from your foes. Dispatch your heroes to carry out actions within the web of power. Weaken your enemies while managing your vampire coven's concealment level to maximize their effectiveness. Ooh. I really, really like this. Okay, so this looks a lot like Yuan Bo's system or Deathmaster Snitch's system, which is great. I have no issue with that. That's wonderful. I think that works really, really well for Neferata. Also, looks like they're showing us a new landmark for the vampires at Fallen King Mountain. That's exciting. I wonder what's there. But hey, I do love new landmarks. Let's see. Neferata surrounds herself with a network of other female vampires who are bound to her by blood and ambition. The vampires of this Lamian sisterhood are the ageless queen's spies and agents, whose beguiling charms Neferata uses to weave her web of power that ensnares mortals and allows her to achieve her ends. So we have sap wealth, so that's probably steal money. Seductive swindle, I imagine that's to take an item. Seeds of discord probably causes public order or causes a rebellion. Let's see, the final hand, secret journey, assist coven, sabotage, whispers of insurrection, fortitude of the damned, fangs in the night, lurid distractions, eternal night, the Harridan's gambit, and scorched souls. Only Lamian vampires and Neferata herself can attempt these actions. Very interesting. Okay. So yeah, it seems more akin to Deathmaster Snitch's system. Where like Deathmaster Snitch and certain kinds of characters can take actions. And you can only take them if you're the appropriate level. Oh, here they show one of us. So we have the final hand. When the time comes that a useful idiot is useful no more, they must be excised with the utmost haste. Assassinate the targeted character, and the character performing this action will gain 1,000 experience. This character performing this action, this character will vanish for 2 turns. Okay, very cool, very cool. Neferata's campaign focuses on using heroes to carry out plans in her Web of Power feature. Heroes can be dispatched to set up vampire covens in strategic locations among the settlements of other factions. These covens generate the unique manipulation resource and have a concealment value, a measure of how hidden Neferata's actions are within any given province, which in turn informs the coven's ability to carry out its plan. Destroying armies and assassinating the heroes of the factions you're manipulating will reduce the concealment of your covens, so it's a delicate balance. The Web of Power special actions can target heroes, neutral factions, or allies alike to steal, assassinate, disrupt, manipulate, more, and all such actions require a hero to perform. Each action requires a hero to be of a minimum level before they can perform the action, and it costs manipulation, which is generated by your covens. You'll need to manage your covens well in order to increase your total manipulation capacity, as well as more impactful Web of Power actions requiring increasing amounts of manipulation to execute. All right, that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. I will say is I really like the idea. Oh yeah, you can see up here. So right now she has a cap of 100 manipulation, but she's supposed to get up to the point where she'll have at least 800 manipulation. So I'm guessing you'll have to increase your cap through building these covens. I do like that a lot. I like and I also like that if you're waging war in areas where you have covens, it's going to make people more aware of like what's going on with your vampires, what's resisting them and going against them. I like that. I like that a lot. Oh, Neferata looks so good. Oh, she looks so good. I'm so excited. She's gonna be so fun to play. Neferata! She's a powerful dual lore spellcaster, melee specialist with several mount options. So we have the lore of magic. We've got vampires and shadow mix. Okay, lore vampire, lore shadow, pretty good. For mounts, we got the Barded Nightmare, the Hellsteed, the Coven Throne. Let's go! Her Dread Abyssal, and a Zombie Dragon. For unique items, we have Akmet Kar, the Dagger of Jet, which has a passive hex that reduces weapon strength and melee attack while nearby characters. Fantastic. Akinset, the Staff of Pain, which has an active hex that grants a spell mastery bonus to the target. Huh? Okay, what? Wait, how does that work? Why would she get... Okay, I'm assuming they just worded that wrong, because either that should be a augment or a buff where she is giving you spell mastery, or it's a hex that she targets someone with, but while the hex is active, she gives herself spell mastery bonus. I'm not sure what that's trying to say. And then we have the Ruby of Lamia, which is a passive regen that when you go below 25% health, you get a big burst of health regen. Very cool. Abilities, Twilight's Allure. See, passive area hex, 3-stage leadership and melee attack debuff. Very cool. Shadow Blood, active magic missile, high damage explosive projectile with the poison contact effect. It deals damage to Neferata to cast. That makes sense. She's literally slicing her veins open and throwing her blood at you as a weapon. Very cool. Bastet. Oh, we're getting Bastet reference. That's really fun. Those are technically like Tomb King creatures. Well, kind of. It's complicated, but they're from some of the roleplay supplements. But they're basically like undead cat creatures. Armor and melee defense debuff on enemy you select. Very cool. And then the hunger, of course. Attributes. Cause fear. She has dodge, so she has lower armor but higher physical resist. And then she is undead. And then we have the Coven Throne at long last. The Coven Throne. It looks so good. It looks so good. It looks so fun. And then we've got the Coven Throne Riders. So you've got a bunch of sexy ladies. Sexy vampire ladies. Good, good, good. And then, yeah, the Lamian Vampire Lord. I will say, I love that the Lamian Vampire Lord has had a huge glow up. I love that she has a completely unique design. I also love that this is going to just make them look so much better. God, these are so much better. They no longer are just like the the generic vampire hero with some rejigged assets. It's like a actual full-on Lamian Lord now, which is great. So they've been reworked into a hybrid spellcaster / duelist with some new abilities. So they have the Lord Vampire Shadow mix. Their mounts, we have the Barded Nightmare, Hellsteed, Coven Throne, Zombie Dragon. Good, 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 good. They have Seduction, 3-stage leadership melee attack debuff, Transfix, a melee defense debuff that applies silence and cannot move. Holy shit, that's really good. Lightning Reflexes. This is an active augment that when it's going, gives you melee attack in the Executioner attribute. Damn. And then Mist Form is a teleport. Wow, okay, we're getting more teleports. Very cool. Teleports the Lord a short distance. I will say it's a little weird to see Mist Form on a Lamian vampire. Usually Mist Form is much more heavily associated with Von Karsteins, not Lamians. Lamians tend to be more associated with transmorgifying themselves into cats, but it's fine. I like Von Karsteins do not have a they don't have a cease and desist order when it comes to misturning. Cause fear and oh, the Necroc looks fucking amazing! Oh my gosh, he looks so cool! Oh, he looks like the Necroc straight out of Warhammer Online Mark of Chaos. Oh gosh, what was that game, guys? It's like Waldekir, I think, or Valdekir or something like that. But he looks really, really similar to the Warhammer Online Mark of, or not Warhammer Online, just Warhammer Mark of Chaos campaign vampire, which is awesome. That's such a good design. Oh, this makes me want Zacharias so bad. I want Zacharias so bad. Let's see. So they have a mix of lore, vampires, beasts, and death. They can ride a barded nightmare, a hailsteed, or a zombie dragon. For abilities, they have the Awakening, which summons an improved skeleton unit. Hellish Vigor is an augment that gives the target unbreakable damage reflection and heals vigor. Jesus, all right. Dark Protection gives them physical resistance. Arcane Leech. Very cool. So it is a passive. So they have a power recharge gain bonus and power recharge drain to enemy spellcasters in range. That is very, very good. And then we have the Lamian Vampire Hero. So this is the one that you are actually able to use in like battle and join armies and stuff. This is not the Handmaiden, apparently. I saw like a note from Creative Assembly on Reddit that the Handmaiden, like just Handmaiden, are campaign only characters for Neferata, but the Lamian Vampire Hero is like a full-on new hero. And the Lamian Handmaidens, I imagine we'll see in a second, are actually like a new unit. A new Lamia-themed vampire hero, which emulates the hybrid spellcaster duelist role of their lord counterpart. So we have a mix of lore of vampires, lore shadows. We have barded nightmares and Hellstein mount. And then they have seduction, dominate, entice, augment, which grants melee defense and euphoric contact effects. Dang, okay. Dominate, passive area direct damage, damages enemies over time, and increases fatigue in an area while they're in melee. Very, very cool. And then Whispering Mist reduces targets' movement speed, increases their fatigue. That's a very solid character. That's a really solid character. I'm curious what they're going to be doing with the regular vampire hero. Like, is the regular vampire hero going to stay as like a generic mutt? Or are they going to turn it into like a Von Karstein vampire hero? Because it seems like they're leaning more into the bloodline stuff. So I would assume this means that the regular vampires are going to become Von Karstein vampires, the hero. Because I just want consistency. That's what I want. I want consistency. Like, either we're keeping the mutt non-bloodline specific vampires or we're not. I really don't like the idea of like we're getting rid of the Lord version, but we're keeping the hero version. Not sure what the deal is on that, but whatever they choose, I just want consistency in their choice. And then we have the Lamian Handmaiden unit. Okay, very cool. Okay, so these are the ladies we saw in the trailer. So you can see these ladies fighting the Magathkin rider, or the Pox Magath riders, and the Basilisk at the end of the new Thanquol trailer. I like this a lot. We kind of got like a classic Empire Sylvanian person. We've got what very much appears to be a Cathayan vampire, and then we've got a Kislevite vampire. You can tell kind of by the accents on their armor. So I do I really, really like that we have these ladies from like different parts of the world. I think it's super cool. An anti-infantry low entity count battlefield unit capable of casting bound spells from the lores of Shadow and Death. So you have the Lamian Handmaiden Shadow, which have Occam's Mind Razor, and the Lamian Handmaidens of Death, which have a version of Soulblight. And they cause fear, have anti-infantry and undead. I will say this is super exciting, because this means that we're getting elite units to represent almost all the bloodlines. So based on the new units that we've seen for the Lords of the End Times, which I covered in my stream, and I'm going to be chopping that up into its own video that'll come out here in a little bit. That means for the von Karsteins, their elite unit is going to be the new Drakenhof Templars. That's going to be in the Lords of the End Times roster. We also then have the Lamian Handmaidens, which are going to be the elite unit for the Lamians. We have the Blood Knights, which are the elite units for the Blood Dragons. And if you want to split hairs and get technical, we have the Crypt Horrors, which the Crypt Horrors are the elite unit of the Strigoi line, which really just leaves the Necrarchs. The Necrarchs are really the only unit that I wouldn't say there is a unit that corresponds to them 1-to-1. You could kind of argue like maybe the Hex Wraiths, but I don't think it's a particularly strong argument. Maybe one thing I'd really like to see, like if we could get like generic zombie dragons, like unridden zombie dragons, that could debatably be seen as like, oh, this is the ultimate Necrarch unit, in which case we'd have all 5 bloodlines essentially represented with an elite unit, which would be really cool. Also for the Strigoi, you could technically argue the Terror guys, because the Terror guys are very heavily associated with the Strigoi. But yeah, this is really cool. In-game overhaul. Immortal Empires has had a number. Oh, okay. Well, so that appears to be the end for the vampires. So I will say, very, very good. Very exciting. I'm really, really interested to dive in on this. My only concerns are what's going on with the old generic vampire characters. I'd like to keep them in the game and just make them lower tier. What's going on with the hero variant? Are they going to make them von Karstein for the sake of consistency, or are they going to keep them as mutts? And then I hope we one day get the zombie dragon as a generic monster. And I also pray, hope, pissing and crying, throwing myself on the ground and begging that we one day get the Red Duke as a fully playable Blood Dragon Legendary Lord. Shut up, NVIDIA. We get Zacharias the Ever-Living as a fully playable Necrarch Legendary Lord. And lastly, we get like Vorag Bloody Tooth or Gashnag the Black Prince as a full-on playable Strigoi Legendary Lord. If we could get all of that, I would shut up forever about vampires. Obviously, there's always more units they can add, but like those are the big things. I'm like, please, please. All right, let's see about endgame. Immortal Empires has had a number of in-game scenarios added over time, such as A Grudge Too Far Dwarfs, Will of Hashut Chaos Dwarfs, The Wild Hunt Wood Elves, etc. We feel that these scenarios vary in quality generally, but more importantly, that none of them really achieve our design goal for what an in-game should be. We believe in-game should be the most climactic moment of your campaign and should present a challenge that is deeper than just a host of new armies appearing on the edge of your empire. To begin with the current in-game scenarios, they've been recategorized as crisis scenarios. We imagine these more as mid-game events which will certainly shake up a campaign, but don't provide all of the necessary ingredients players will want from an in-game. We've now crafted 3 new in-game scenarios, and we believe they're the best we've made to date. They comprise unique gameplay mechanics, narrative build-ups with bespoke art and cinematics. Hell yeah! And campaign-defining climactic moments. I really hope this means they're going to have, like, art at the end. Like, one of the biggest things that I think Creative Assembly has really screwed up on, in my opinion, and this isn't, like, a massive deal, but, like, I think it doesn't hurt, is that they have gotten really bad about not including like a victory screen, like a good piece of victory art with like a little narrative. Like in Warhammer 1 and 2, you used to get like these fun little narratives about like, oh, you won and like stuff. Whereas Immortal Empires like has been so afraid of story, which I think is the worst part. I think it's the worst part of the entire game. Is they're like, oh, well, it's a sandbox, so we don't want to do anything. And it's like, no, that's stupid. Shut up. So I'm glad they seem to be adding in more story elements. We, of course, provide options in the front end to opt out of these new in-games, as well as the newly categorized mid-game crisis scenarios for players who want the full, uninterrupted sandbox experience. I don't believe these people exist. I don't believe these people exist. I don't think there's anybody out there that actually plays Total War Warhammer Immortal Empires, like genuinely sits down with the time to play it, who plays a campaign long enough to get to these things, who's like, oh no, I only want the sandbox. Don't put narrative in my sandbox. I think that's bullshit. I think those people don't exist. The only people I feel like who are like, oh, I'm a sandbox purist are the people that literally just don't play the game. Or they play the game for like 30 turns and then they get bored because they're no longer in like the super early game, and they start their like 850 millionth Karl Franz campaign over for them, for their 800 millionth and first Karl Franz campaign. Not slandering Karl Franz players. I'm just saying that, like, I always feel like CA caters to a group that is very, very, very minor when it comes to like, oh, well, we don't want to include narrative elements for our fantasy game. And it's like, oh, shut up. No, I reject this. I reject this storyline. I don't believe they're real. I don't believe they're real. I think the people that play to the end are people that are trying to find and make stories, and without the stories there to reward them, it makes the end game in particular really boring. So I'm glad they're finally fixing this. The 3 in-game scenarios heavily utilize devastation as part of their mechanics. As the in-game commences, the music, campaign lighting, and terrain itself change as the in-game factions begin to conquer more of the world. Oh, cool. They're telling us all 3 of them. In-game overview, Chaos Invasion. Archaon has gathered the forces of chaos, and all are united under his banner. These factions now forego all thoughts of territorial conquest and desire only one thing: the utter destruction of the mortal world. All Chaos-aligned factions unite. Oh my god, all of them? Unite under Archaon, and huge numbers of Chaos forces invade the world. The Chaos Gods have bestowed immense power on Archaon for this undertaking. He is nigh on invulnerable when his invasion forces first arrive, and only through defeating those forces and destroying his 5 key fortresses will you weaken him enough to stand a chance. When Archaon is finally weakened, you can attempt to defeat him in a final battle to banish the forces of chaos from the world. So if you want to play the end times and you want to stop it or make it happen, it is now in the game for realsies. This sounds really fun. Vermintide. The Horned Rat has spoken. Unleash the Vermintide. All of Scavendom rises up in the great ascendancy to conquer the world, with Screech Verminlord, that is not his name, actually, it's Vermin King, but Screech Vermin King leading the Vermintide in the Horned Rat's name. Face an emboldened Skaven race that no longer cares to conceal itself. All Skaven settlements become visible as the Under Empire is unleashed, and the Skaven spread faster than ever, both above and below ground. Withstand waves of Skaven attacks as millions of Ratmen pour out from the ground at key locations across the world. Push back the hordes and gather enough knowledge of the Vermintide's war plans to finally defeat it. That sounds so fun. I want to do a Tehillim campaign with the Vermintide ending so bad. Oh my god, that's gonna be fun. And Nagash rises. The Supreme Lord of Undeath has returned to end all life and rule over a world of eternal undeath. Ascension to godhood has long been his goal, and now he is closer than ever to achieving it. Nagash has a master plan. This commences as he begins moving his Black Pyramid to Nagashazar. Oh, so it does fly. Oh no. Oh no. Nagash unites all undead forces beneath his control and commands his Mortarchs to enact his will. Through countless battles against the undead hordes, you must carve a path to the Black Pyramid and face Nagash in a final showdown that will decide the fate of the world. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Victory conditions update. Immortal Empire's victory conditions have long been a mix of thematic objections and generic goals, and we believe that the quality of victory conditions across the factions wasn't always consistent. Some really capture the motivation of a legendary lord/faction, while others are more functional and generic. Make sure you take over 80 settlements. Like, oh my god, who cares? We've now updated all victory conditions with a single design goal in mind. We want to ensure each campaign has a set of loreful objectives, which each legendary lord/faction would aim to achieve. Where possible, these objectives will include that faction or culture's unique mechanics as part of the victory condition. We've also updated the rewards that victory conditions grant. Short victories will generally provide one reward that is shared by all legendary lords in the culture. and another Legendary Lord specific reward to match their motivations or playstyle, while long victory rewards will remain more generic. Our goal here is to encourage use of the special short victory rewards to assist in achieving a long victory, and the long victory rewards to help you towards a domination victory. That's so good. I feel like that's going to make actually completing campaigns much more achievable for the vast majority of players. The vast majority. Lores of Magic updates. Lore Vampires. Given the big vampire counts focus, we felt this was the perfect time to give the Lore of Vampires a well-deserved visual update with some fancy new spell effects. Hey, let's go! The Lore of Neferata. The Lore of Neferata is a spell lore that we frequently see raised as lacking impact compared to many other lores of Magic in the game. This has now had a balance pass to uplift it where appropriate. I'm very curious about the specifics on that. But yeah, the Lore of Neferata, I mean, even in tabletop, it was pretty terrible. Because and it's mostly because it was a spell that mostly focused on buffs and debuffs as opposed to like damage or, you know, crazy things to affect your enemy and stuff like that. And what buffs and debuffs it gave weren't particularly interesting. And that unfortunately reflected into Total War. So I'm very curious to see what they're going to have done to try and make it better. Because, I mean, Anticity has some really good videos about this. CA tends to be just obscenely too conservative when it comes to buffs and debuffs, because they either don't last long enough or they don't affect stats that are relevant to the short amount of time they do last. So we'll have to see. Lore of Stealth. Similarly to the Lore of Neferata, the Lore of Stealth often gets overshadowed within the triumvirate of Plague, Ruin, and Stealth. While keeping the gameplay identity of Stealth, we've given the lore a little bump to make it more competitive with the other Skaven lores. That's very exciting, because it is a cool lore of Magic that virtually nobody ever wants to take. And then Immortal Empire's Flyby Overhaul. The introductory faction flybys in Immortal Empires have largely consisted of a single camera pan down to your lord. We originally made this decision to give us greater freedom to adjust the starting position of Legendary Lords over the long course of Immortal Empire's development, as redoing the bespoke introduction scene in Total Warhammer 2 would be quite work-intensive. However, we now have very well-established starting positions for all the Legendary Lords, which are unlikely to change over time. With that in mind, we've been looking at ways to use flybys more as a celebration of the Warhammer world and its characters. For the purpose of creating new flybys, we divided the Immortal Empire's map into 14 distinctive theaters that we feel have clear geographic and loreful connections. Intro flybys now work so that factions in the same theater will use a shared flyby. You will be given some background on the theater, and the flyby introduces some of the motivations of the major factions in the area, before the camera swoops down to focus on your chosen Legendary Lord in their starting position. Join us Wednesday for our first end time stream, otherwise known as Wednesday. What? Wednesday, as in end day. Tune in for the first look at update 9.0. All right. Well, I think that's all very exciting. This is all excellent, great news. I have like a few minor questions here and there, but I am genuinely looking very forward to what's going to be awaiting us in the future. I'm incredibly curious to see where this is going to go, and I hope it's fun. I hope everything works well. I hope it's beautiful and gorgeous and lovely. I am pretty intrigued thus far, and we'll just have to see what we're looking at. So yeah, I think I might, who knows, maybe I'll even stream myself watching that stream. Maybe we'll make a little party out of it. That could be fun. So thank you all so much for watching. I will be back with more soon. Expect videos to be trickling out over the next week or so of like cut up pieces of the streams from the other day. And I will see you all when I see you. Take care. Have a lovely day.